what do you want your memories to be for the holidays? What do you want them to be for your family or the loved ones you spend it with? And some of you spend holidays with friends, and friends are like family. So what do you want that to look like? And what has to change in your life now so that you can actually have that experience?
Welcome back. We are in our health and wellness series, and today let's talk about how to stay sane during the holidays. I am talking to one of my friends, Niro Feliciano, and this conversation is one that you are going to want to lean into because we unpack what it really looks like to not go crazy during the holidays. What is driving us to have such stressful holidays, and what can we actually do? She even brings some scripts for how we can talk to friends or how we can talk to family members. We're not just tiptoeing around what's difficult. We're really getting into it and giving you action steps and tools that you can use right now. We're going to uncover why the stress hits harder than it should during the holidays, how to stop carrying everyone else's emotions as your own, and what it means to create space for peace without dropping all your responsibilities. Niro has such a grounded, honest way of talking about this because she is a full-time therapist. It's not theory, it's tools you can use right now. Okay, let's dive in with my friend Niro. Welcome back to the show. You are a therapist, you're a mom of 4. Tell us, from your expert opinion, why are the holidays so hard? Why is it so hard to have a good time?
Okay, so let's just say that you haven't really gone through anything really big and hard, which like everybody has at this point in their life. But let's just look at the regular busyness of our lives. I don't care if you have no kids or 1 kid or 4 kids, everyone's busy. Everyone's kind of operating at maximum capacity, very little mental bandwidth for various reasons. You know, we live in a very distracted world. So we're at maximum capacity all year long, and then we add everything else that has to happen during the holidays. And for some people, all of it's good, but it's still more on the to-do list, which often prevents us from actually enjoying what's happening. But then you deal with difficult family situations, people who've lost someone in the last year or so, or 10 years ago. All of it comes up during the holidays. I had patients every year saying, okay, we'd have a conversation in the office. I'm in the office right now. And then they would say, can you just come home with me and talk me through this, through the whole season? And I said, no, because I got my own stuff. But that's exactly what this book is. It's literally me talking them through 31 days from Thanksgiving to New Year. And I did 31 days giving people lots of grace to not read it every day because I'm never good at sticking to those plans. But there's certainly something for every situation that you're going through.
I love that. I've talked about this in a book before, but I can remember being a little girl and seeing my great aunt operate in a big holiday. So we get to her house and she's friendly and smiling, but you can tell like inside of you when something's wrong. And she hosted this big holiday gatherings and she cooked for days. She let us all know she cooked for days, right? And I just remember being there at Christmas thinking, this doesn't feel good. I don't know what's going on, but everyone looks happy. Everything looks good, but I don't like this. And whatever this is, I don't want this when I'm an adult. And 8-year-old Allie didn't understand what was going on. I found out later after she passed away, she never wanted to host everything.
Huh.
She felt like to be a good mom, to be a good woman, that was her role. So instead of feeling like she had permission to raise her hand and go, hey, let's trade houses every year, or everybody bring a dish, or if I'm going to cook for 3 days, you guys need to come over and help me, she just suffered.
Wow.
And instead of the holidays being joyful for her, she ended up being kind of bitter and resentful for it. And it's a perfect illustration of what so many of us do with so many different things. It doesn't just have to be the holidays, but we work ourselves to the bone and we are unhappy and we get resentful for it. And we wonder why, well, I'm doing all this stuff. Why isn't everyone grateful? And why is everyone in a bad mood when we are kind of perpetuating this issue ourselves instead of feeling like we can ask for help and advocate for what we need, right?
That's right. And I think you can't have a conversation about the holidays without talking about boundaries. And your story reminded me of a story that someone told me recently. I was attending a fundraiser and we were sitting at a big round table. And, when people who know that you're a therapist, they always have something to share, right? So she said, okay, Nero, how do I deal with this situation? I have family that likes to come in town and they stay for 2 weeks. And she said,
No.
my kids are about to go to college. I am tapped out by the end of it. We weren't planning to host this year, but they called and said that we're coming. We're coming for 2 weeks. And she said, honestly, I don't mind it for 5 days because this woman is like you're on all in. She makes everything beautiful and perfect, and she's thoughtful, and she takes care of what would all these kids like for gifts. I mean, she is the Santa of the entire family. And I said, "What happens after 5 days?" She said, I'm not kind anymore. I'm tired." And I said, "Well, then that's your boundary. That's your boundary." And a lot of times we look at boundaries and we think, "Oh, I'm gonna be perceived as being mean, or I'm perceived as being the jerk," or whatever it is. But boundaries really are what preserve our ability to stay kind and compassionate, right? So if we want to have these longer term relationships with these people, we have to set those boundaries and be aware of what our limits are and what prevents us from enjoying the holiday, because we're creating this joy for everybody else, but we're left at the end without experiencing what we wanted, probably not feeling very present, not feeling very joyful. So is it really worth it? One of the things I talk about in the book is connection over perfection, because a lot of times, like your aunt, you feel disconnected from it.
Mhm.
And you as an 8-year-old, that's really insightful. You picked up on it. And more, we're looking at psychological research that emotions are contagious. We're looking at emotion as a contagion, as literally something you can catch. And you feel it when you walk in a room and someone's not genuinely joyful. You can feel the resentment. You can feel some of the stress they take on. And kids are really good at picking up on it. But it's great that it informed you. I don't want to do it like this.
Yeah, no, I knew whatever was going on, I didn't want any part of it. Okay, so going back to the woman that's telling you this story,
Yeah.
the guests who are coming for 2 weeks, which, oh my goodness, the audacity of people saying they're coming for 2 weeks. 2 things I would imagine are at play. I'll say what I think is going on, then you weigh in as the expert
Mm,
here. So first thing, she doesn't wanna go through the momentary discomfort of putting a boundary on because she probably doesn't know how to phrase it, and it's gonna be awkward in the short term. But
100%.
second thing, she's probably worried about damaging the relationship if she puts a boundary on. So
Mhm.
for anyone listening going, "I need to put a boundary on X, Y, or Z," how do you hype yourself up for the short-term discomfort, and how do you do it in a way that retains connection?
It's tricky. And honestly, you can do it in a kind way. And if it's not received in a kind way, at that point, yes, you have to live with some of that tension. But before we set that boundary, we have to do a little bit of a cost benefit. What is it going to cost us if we don't set the boundary, right? And what are we going to gain if we do? And that's really important. So we actually had this little conversation. There are literally like 4 couples at the table, and we're just sitting, all of us are talking about it together because it's such an issue for everyone. And the one thing I said to her is, anytime we feel resentment, it's likely there was a boundary that needed to be set that was not. Resented,
Mm.
depleted, exhausted. We can go back to saying, okay, where was a boundary that needed to be set? So again, you can't control someone else's reaction, but we have to think about, okay, what would I gain? And what is the cost if I don't set it? And she did say, she's recognizing as our kids get older, my years are limited as a family with everyone together. And these are the times where I'm making these memories and I want to be present and I'm going to be exhausted. And at this point, because I didn't even invite them this time, they invited themselves. I'm gonna feel resentful. That's quite a cost when you think about it, and especially when you think, I don't even know if I'm gonna have my family for every Christmas. This one might get married soon, and then we have to split the holidays. So that's a big enough motivation to sit through some of the discomfort. And then a lot of times when I'm talking with clients, I'll give them a script for how to say it. So you can say, "We are so excited. We would love for you to come. And this holiday, we were not sure what we were going to do. So we actually made plans for some of that week, but we would love for you to come from this day to this day, those 5 days. And it's going to be so great. I'm already thinking about what we can do during that time." It's clear, It's kind. If they don't receive it like that, they will get used to it. One thing I know, the only people who push back on your boundaries are the people who have benefited from you not having them. So we have enabled that to some extent. They just have to get used to a new normal. And the more consistent you are with that, and the more kind and the more clear you are about sending them, they'll get used to it.
I think that's so good. I was just having a conversation yesterday with a business coaching client of mine, and she was telling me that's about something she needed to tell a team member. And she said, I just don't know how to say it. And I said, I need you to say it just how you told me.
Mm,
It was clear, but it was kind. I think people are afraid of being honest and being clear because they think it won't be kind.
yes,
But all you have to do is say it in a kind way.
right.
I think that there's this association with, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to be harsh, and I'm going to tell them like it is.
Hmm.
Maybe just don't sound like a jerk
Yeah.
when you're clear and say things in a nice, friendly, pleasant way. Generally, people are okay with it.
And we're tense about having these conversations if you're not somebody who likes to set boundaries, and maybe the other person picks up on that and therefore pushes those boundaries, so to speak. But I think ambiguity is less kind, right? Because then again, we get resentful. We may go back on things that we've agreed on because when it comes down to it, we can't deliver. Those expectations are too high for us to meet, or unrealistic, whatever it is. So I think ambiguity puts us in a place where we're more likely to be unkind, and not only to that person, to everyone around us when we're stressed. So, no, I'm with you. I
Mhm.
think clear, direct is kind, and you could say it in a nice way. Think about your tone when you say it. You could
Be a
say
jerk.
anything with a nice
Yeah.
tone, and it will come out kind?
My husband once said, I think it's your Southern accent. You could tell someone to go jump off a bridge and they'll think you're being nice. And I go, no, I just say things in a nice way. Like, I'm just
It's the
not
accent.
harsh.
All I have to say is I was doing this talk once, and there was many Southern women there, and someone did an intro, and somewhere in that intro, they used the phrase, "It'll make you wanna slap your mama." And everyone laughed, and I was like, "If I said that from Connecticut, people would be like, 'What? They're calling DCF on me.'" I was like, "It's your accent. You even made that sound nice."
Fair.
So,
That is fair. I have a son that always says, "That's so good, it makes you wanna slap your mama," and
well,
finally I was like, "Is that the best term you use?" 'Cause I don't ever wanna get smacked. I will tell you, I do have a story of the holidays being super resentful. I think we had 2 little kids, and, you hide all the gifts for Santa, right? And
mhm,
then you have to wrap them, and
mhm,
I remember being like, "You know what? Santa in our house does not wrap gifts."
mhm,
They're
mhm.
just hidden, and then they're out under the tree. Santa does not waste time wrapping gifts, because if Santa has to wrap all these gifts, Santa's gonna be very angry
It's
by
less
Christmas
efficient.
morning.
Mhm,
So I did that, and another thing, because I have so many millions of children, and there's
mhm,
so many gifts,
mhm.
maybe 10 years ago, I started making the boys wrap in shifts.
Mm,
I'll in my office or my bedroom, I'll have 5 or 6 gifts, and say I have boy number 2 in. He'll wrap 5 or 6 gifts for his siblings
sure,
and label them and put it under the tree. So, we never tell each other what we're getting, but I was like,
right,
I can't wrap
for sure.
60 gifts
Mhm,
every Christmas. And I am also a believer that done is better than perfect.
yes.
So they're kind of wrapped. Imagine you get a Target bag and you just have to wrap that bag around itself and make it look like it's kind of Target
It is
bag wrapping
holiday
with the
red.
wrapping paper,
Mhm,
but it's done.
yeah,
And from afar, the pictures of the tree and the presents underneath look good. But I realized I would be an exhausted, angry, crazed woman
yes.
because I did not like wrapping gifts.
And that's so good because you realize the cost isn't worth it.
Mm-mm.
It's not worth the benefit. When we actually stop to think about it, because we don't always think about it and stop and ask it in those terms. We just do what we feel like we should do, or what we've always done, or maybe was reasonable at some point, like before we had kids, right? So, but as our life changes, we need to change as well. We need to change our expectations. I mean, in perimenopause, I cannot stay up the way I used to do that work. I cannot do it anymore. So
Mm.
things have to change as we're changing, for sure.
Yeah, and one of the core tenets of my last book was, as moms, we need to take care of ourselves
Mm,
because however we feel inside, everybody's going to feel like you're talking about how contagious emotions are.
Mhm.
So if we're exhausting ourselves, if we're doing anything to wear ourselves out in the holiday, the family isn't going to have a good holiday because we are going to be in a bad mood.
That's right. And it's gonna come out in one way or another, and likely in ways that you don't expect. Or you're just flat out exhausted and you can't connect with people. You can't take it in. So then we have to think, okay,
Mhm.
what's the point of all this? What really is? What are they gonna remember at the end? If I ask my kids now, what did you get last year for Christmas? They're not gonna remember. They're not gonna remember, but they'll remember things that we did together. They'll remember moments with family and extended family. The ones that are not dramatic and, or there might
Yeah.
be more of the dramatic ones too. Maybe it's a good memory. So, but it's not those things.
Yeah, they remember the vibe,
Yes.
and we set the vibe as
Yeah,
the moms.
I like that. They will remember
Yeah,
the vibe. Yep.
yeah. So the wrapping may look crazy. The food may not be all homemade,
Mhm.
but if mom's in a good mood, they're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you feel like is a super toxic expectation that we put on ourselves during the holidays?
I think it's just that we need to be happy and joyful all the time. On top of our regular mental load, we're taking on all of this. And we're expected to do all of it. Like, for example, the fact that you enlisted the elves in your house to wrap gifts. Some women take that or maybe you're a dad too, take that to the extreme and they have to get everything perfect and everything has to look good. And just because we've had these traditions every single year, we need to keep doing them, even when our life doesn't look the same.
Mhm.
Maybe our finances don't look the same. Maybe we've lost someone, so we don't have the same energy and we keep saying, okay, I'm still going to meet all those expectations. And we don't stop to think, okay, what's reasonable this year? What's different this year? What would actually be good for us this year? What would help us to enjoy the holiday? And what can we let go of this year? And even if you let go of it for 1 year, give it a try. If it doesn't work and you feel like, hey, this is not as great without this particular thing or tradition or cookie that I make, whatever it might be for you, bring it back next year. But give yourself the grace to allow yourself that rest in some way, whether it's mental or physical or emotional, just for 1 year if you feel like you need it.
That's really good. Say someone's listening and they're going, "Ugh, I can't even think about that because my family's so full of drama." What something she can do now to give her a little breathing space, just anticipating drama in the holidays?
I write a good bit about drama in the book because it affects so many families. I don't know that many families that are the complete Hallmark experience at the holidays. There's
Yeah.
some dramatic someone somewhere that people tend to have to interact with during the holidays. I mean, I think if it's something that is going to happen every year, you can somewhat prepare for it. And I remember one day my husband said to me, "Why is this surprising to you? This happens every single year." And I said, "I know, and it still catches me off guard because I go into it thinking, okay, it's going to be different for some reason, or not preparing for it, or maybe just avoiding it, and that's why I don't prepare for it. But maybe we can. Is it someone that's going to bring up a topic that's sensitive? Maybe have a conversation before and say, hey, you know what? We probably need to have a conversation about this, but let's leave it off the table at the holidays. Or maybe there are boundaries that you have to set with that person before they come. Let's not talk about the fact that my 30-year-old is not in a relationship and hasn't been in for a long time. Do you mind not bringing that up this time so everyone feels good? And they're hard
Let
things.
me let me jump
Yeah,
in. What
please.
if that person is kind of a jerk
Hmm.
and says, "Well, absolutely not. I mean, m it's a free country. I'm gonna say whatever I wanna say."
I mean, at that point, you have to think, are we at the point then, if they're going to be that disrespectful, that we even want to do holiday with them? Sometimes when you ask someone to do something and you're met with that response, you realize in that ask, you've kind of given your power away. You've left the power in their hands. But if you use an if then statement, hey, if you bring that up, I don't think we're going to be able to do holidays again. Then you leave them with a choice, and there is a consequence to it that you've given to them. And I didn't say that in a mean way. I just
Yeah.
said, hey, this is how it is now. You see the behavior potentially change a little bit more than if you leave all the power with them. There we keep the power, right? Or if you bring up that subject, I'm gonna get up and leave. And it's gonna be tense for everybody, whatever it might be. But you give them kind of a cause and an effect, and a consequence for the behavior. And in that way, you maintain a little bit more control.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm hosting an event actually next weekend, and we were thinking about the email to send out because if the event starts at 9, people will show up at 8:15. We're literally going to send out, like, the gate will be open for entrance at 9.
That's good.
And this was our conversation, and so that was her idea, and I said, "No, we need to add after that, please do not come before 9, the gate will be locked." Like, it has to be that
Yeah.
clear. Like,
Yeah.
if anybody could not notice what things mean, we're not being as clear and we're not being as kind as we can be.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that that's your issue because we, in our culture, I'm Sri Lankan, and South Asians tend to have the opposite. Like if we say, come at 9, people will roll in at like 10, 10:30, you know? And
Oh,
sometimes I
no.
might be one of those people. So, yes, I think clear. There will be no food by 10:30 or whatever you want to
Yeah.
say. And you can even make a joke of some of these things. Sometimes we just take
Yeah.
them too seriously because we're feeling the tension and picking up on the emotional climate and the emotional situation of the other person. But as my daughter said, that's an issue. It's not an ish me,
Mm.
which I like. And it's true. We can't control that person's stuff, but we certainly
Yeah.
can preserve our peace in that.
Yeah, I have some family members that are always a little liberal with their time
Sure.
and
I love how
arrival
you said
times, and
that.
I will say, "Here's what time we get started. Here's what time we eat." Like, we will be eating at this time.
Yeah.
So, just if you wanna be an hour late, that's great, but we will be eating. Like, we're not waiting.
I think that's really helpful. And I have also said that to family members who are later than me. And a lot of times they'll be like, you go ahead," because they know
Mm,
they either have something or they're
yeah.
coming, but at least we've clarified expectations. So we're not waiting around. They show up 2 hours late. We're starving at that point. No, we've clarified it from the beginning because we know this can continue to be an issue or it has been in the past. So I would say that what have been the issues in the past? Is there anything we can have a conversation about before? Are there any places we need to set boundaries this time around? And just because you've tolerated something and it's left you frustrated and resentful every year does not mean you have to continue to do so. You know, our emotional health affects our spiritual health, it affects our physical health. And that's a gift that we have every day. We have to take care of it. And this is part of it.
That's really good. Okay, so here's my guess.
Mm.
My guess is some women are resentful about things around the holiday, maybe even bordering on a little bitter,
Hmm.
because how do I know? I'm a woman and I talk to women. I've been talking to women for 47 years, but maybe they don't realize it.
Mm.
What are some signs that you could give that maybe could be eye-opening experiences for a woman listening where she realizes like, "Oh, I'm way more aggravated about things than I thought I was.
Hmm.
It's time for me to set some boundaries." What
Yeah.
could those indications be in her life?
Yeah. Do you have, I mean, offhand, when you were thinking of that question, do you have any examples that pop into your mind of situations you've heard of where that would be the case?
Yeah, I picture a woman walking around her house,
Mhm.
rage cleaning and
Mhm.
venting to
Mhm.
someone else about the people who are gonna come over.
Okay.
That's what comes to mind.
Okay. So we have to have kind of a bigger conversation about, are these friends? Are these family members? And certainly if they're friends, right? I get that sometimes family, we're stuck with them and we have to figure out how to live in peace and in a healthy way as much as possible. But friends, we choose those.
Yeah.
And if you're doing all this work for people who leave you drained or exhausted, it's okay to not have these friends anymore or to guard your time or maybe pick a different type of setting to meet them in where you don't have to do all the work. Hey, you know what? We're going to go out to dinner. All of us are going to pick a dinner and go out to dinner for the holidays, and no one's going to have to clean up after, and it will be much better. And the time will be limited because people in your house like to linger.
Yeah.
So, but at a restaurant, hey, gotta get home, right? At a certain time. There's an end point. So I think it's important to think through these situations because a lot of times we have blind spots. We can't see it. Maybe find a friend or family member you trust and talk it out with them and say, I get this kind of way every time I'm in this situation or every time I have to deal with these people. Can I just talk it out with you? Give me your advice. What do you think about it? Someone who has your back, who you know always wants the best for you. And hopefully everybody has at least one person in their life like that. Talk to them. And if you don't, and even if you do, that's what therapists are for. We're really good at figuring this stuff out with you and helping you to figure it out. And for some people, literally the holidays make them anxious and depressed. And it's all of these things, and that may be worth enough to kind of consult with the therapist about it, especially with the family piece of it.
Oh, well, everyone should have a therapist to begin with, so,
But
like, that's
es
just a given.
and
I was
especially
just
if
on a
you're
group
not like
coaching call and with my called creatives community, and they were talking about, like, how do you go to a painful place in your past to be able to write about it? And I was like, with a good therapist that's also a Christian, like,
yeah,
there's there's no way around it. Like, have that therapist on call when you
that's
have to
great.
you have to revisit something hard. But yes, for holidays, absolutely, because
Yeah,
there's
I
so
think
many.
there's a part of it where everybody could use a therapist at some point or
Yeah. So I guess for the holidays, like everything, every woman is different. For some women, the holidays are hard because it brings up grief. For some
Mhm,
women, the holidays are hard because we're over functioning,
mhm.
right? I mean, I guess it's different for every woman, but like you said, it is going to be difficult for every woman because on top of busy full lives, we have all of this
We sure
all of a
do.
sudden that we need to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do, and I think forward a little bit. Later on in your life, what do you want your memories to be for the holidays? What do you want them to be for your family or the loved ones you spend it with? And some of you spend holidays with friends, and friends are like family. So, what do you want that to look like? And what has to change in your life now so that you can actually have that experience? I think, too, grief is a whole other situation because it is these anniversary reactions, these milestone markers throughout the year really brings it up, and it could feel like it just happened. And I interviewed a good friend of mine who lost her husband very suddenly in an accident, and she had three kids who are all doing amazing now. It's been about 4 years, and she told her story because this woman was like Miss Christmas, the big holiday parties, everything. And her husband was right alongside of her in this. And all of a sudden, the joy was not there for it. So she and I had a really great conversation, and she has some beautiful advice for people. And part of it was you don't have to do it the same way. One, you don't have to do the same way. You can try new things. If it's too painful right now, try something else. Go to a different place. I remember she took all her family away that first Christmas, and it was a good thing for them. And now they're back in their house and doing Christmas. But the other thing I want to say is you can feel joy. You can feel joy and you can be happy. And that's what your loved one would want for you this time of year. It doesn't mean you're still not honoring their grief, your grief. And it doesn't mean that you're not holding that pain alongside of any sort of happier moment that you might have in that holiday. And I think sometimes people feel like they can't be happy because then they're not honoring their loved one. They're letting go of the grief and they're not ready to let go of that. But you can have both. They can live alongside each other, and oftentimes they will.
I love that. That's a really beautiful way to phrase it and great advice for women. Okay, ready for some fun questions?
Yes.
Okay. What about a song that you've had on repeat lately?
Oh, okay. This is going to tell you a little bit who I am. My husband's Puerto Rican. So, and he's a big Bad Bunny fan, and Bad Bunny is having a moment in Puerto
Mhm.
Rico. So there's a lot
Yes.
of Bad Bunny on repeat. But there is a really great song that I love from, I believe it's from Elevation Worship that I listen to almost daily, and it's been so good. It's called Been So Good, and it just reminds me every day that God has been so good to me and will continue to be good to me, and He's faithful no matter what I'm going through right now. I'm really learning about surrender. Part of it, and I told my husband I'm in such a different mindset with this book. I've surrendered it. Whatever God wants to do, God wants to do. I've let go of different expectations. I'm just happy it's done, especially knowing what a miracle it is the year that it got done. So that song's been on repeat, been so good.
Oh, I love that. Okay. I approve both of those things. What about a movie or a TV show that you've enjoyed?
So I really don't watch much TV. and I haven't seen many movies lately because it has been kind of crazy. And I'm in perimenopause, so I fall asleep wherever I am at like 9 o'clock at night. The amount of couches I've fallen asleep at, it's unbelievable. But I will say I love the series Ted Lasso. I would watch it again. I'm excited that they're coming back. So that was probably the last show I've watched. I have a whole list on my phone of shows that I'm going to get to once I'm done promoting this book. So, but that one
Okay,
is
is
always.
Shrinking on your list? Same producers,
I have.
same
I know,
showrunners.
and I watched a
Okay.
lot of Shrinking, but then I got busy and I couldn't finish it. And that
Did you
guy,
love it so
um,
far, though, what you saw?
I loved it. I loved it, and I could relate to his therapist. He says the things that
Mhm.
we wanna say sometimes, but we don't. So,
Yeah.
he's great. That is one show I wanna go back to for sure.
What about a book that you've been recommending to people?
So, I did read the book, The Tell. Did you hear about
Hmm.
that book?
No, tell me about it.
So, it was on Oprah's book club at one point,
Mhm.
probably this summer, and I read it so fast because it's really compelling, and it's not a light read, I will say that. But I read it from a therapist lens for sure. You do not have to be a therapist to enjoy it, but it is about trauma and how we repress trauma, and especially as women, we repress trauma. It was this beautiful story of how this woman came through it. And she used kind of non-traditional, now accepted therapeutic measures to kind of unlock the trauma because it really was repressed, and how it healed her family, it healed her kids, and she really kind of found her life back after it, but it was a good book, The Tell, it's called.
Okay, the tell. I love that. This is why I ask these questions.
It's a good
Okay,
question.
my favorite question, what about a product that made you tell a friend she needed to have it?
Okay. So, I tell everyone, and I think you and I talked about this on the last podcast, so forgive me, about Curls Rock. It is a hair product, and if you are a curly person, I know this is very deceptive because I have very curly hair, it just happens to be blown out right now. That is the be all end all product, and we buy vats of it in my house because 5 of us has curly hair. My husband does not need product, his hair is so short, but his hair is curly too. But it is gold standard for curly hair. Curls rock, and if you're a
Girls
mama
Rock
who
is
has a daughter
amazing.
with curly hair and you have no idea what to do with it because you never had it, just give her that product. You have to put it in when the hair is really wet and then just don't touch it, let it go. You're
It's
welcome.
amazing. I will tell you, my dad had curly hair, my mom has straight hair. I was a girl in the '80s with bangs. Imagine curly bangs
Yeah, yeah,
and then brushed out, blown out
yeah.
hair. So just like straight hair and just this crazy mop of curls because she didn't know what to do with it. She didn't know what mousse was.
That
We
was
didn't have Curls Rock back then.
I know that was my mom.
Sometimes I'll see a little girl out with her mom with straight hair and I want to be like, should I
Pull her
offer to
aside.
help? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'm with
Yeah.
you. I think that's why I tell people because I had the same experience. My mom had no idea. So, and my mom was amazing, but no idea.
Mm-mm.
Unless you go through the rites of passage of having curly hair, you just don't know. So,
You don't know.
I get it.
Mm-mm. Like how when you wake up in the morning with curly hair, it's gonna do what it's gonna do, and it's you can't fix it until you wash it again.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That is for sure
Doesn't matter if you're on national TV that day, it's gonna do what it's gonna
what it wants to do. I've learned that.
do. Well, this is so fun. I think All Is Calm-ish is amazing. I love how sparkly the cover is. I
Oh,
love how easy to consume it is. So, thank you for tackling this big job of helping women get out of the hole that so many of us are in the holidays so we can actually enjoy it.
oh, thank you. And I always love talking to you. And I know we talked about some of the heavier stuff, but the book is funny. And it really is just to bring some perspective and peace to your day every day
Mm,
whenever you choose to pick it up. But I always love talking to you. So thank you. Thank you for
it's so fun.
the conversation.
And you give women permission to have the holidays on their terms, which is so important. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay. So on my website, neurofeliciano.com, that has everything. But I do a lot on Instagram. So I'll be on there a lot. And then I'm on the Today Show once a month or so, sometimes twice a month. And
It feels like you're on the Today Show all the time, but I think I just see it pop up on Instagram, like, there she is on the Today Show again.
that's
I love it.
sad story, but yes, it's been a blessing. So I'm there, and if you actually put my name in the search engine of the Today Show, it'll bring up all my segments and things that I've talked about there too. So that's always fun.
That's great. Well, awesome, friend. Congratulations, and thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank you, Allie.
How great is she, right? Okay, of course, I'm giving away lots of copies of her book. If you are listening, take a screenshot, share this on TikTok, share this on Instagram, tag me, tag Neuro. You'll be entered to win. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed and that you like this and you leave a comment, and you will be entered to win. And as always, I'm so grateful we get to spend this time together every week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for investing in yourself. You're doing the thing that we talk about. You're making sure that you are doing well. You're setting yourself up for a happier holidays. You're setting yourself up for a win. You're protecting yourself against getting bitter and resentful and having your joy stolen around the holidays. You get to decide how you live during the holidays. In fact, if you have Breaking Busy, I have a special chapter in Breaking Busy all about boundaries and how to manage life during the holidays. But dive into Breaking Busy. I have step-by-steps in that one of what you can do around the holidays. So thank you for protecting your sanity. Thank you for investing in yourself and the holiday before you even get there. This is what smart women do. This is why you're here. So it is my joy to get to coach you and cheer you on and remind you that with God, you have what it takes. So keep stepping up, keep showing up, and keep loving well, because you can't break a woman who gets her strength from God. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Okay, here we go. There we go. We are connected. Let's film this thing, baby.